Hello, I'm OBX2Cat and welcome back to another second channel video. Today I'm going to be doing something just a little bit different, as you can probably tell from the fact that I have a map in the background instead of any gameplay, because today I'm going to be doing one of my main channel, kind of informative style videos, but I'm going to be doing it over, geography instead. So I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about this area right here. You've probably heard a thing or two about it if you're not from here, and you're pretty confused at all the different terms that can be used to describe it. There's the United Kingdom, there's England, there's the British Isles, there's Great Britain, and all these things mean very different things. But yet they have a lot of overlap too, and it's kind of confusing to explain what all that means. So I thought I'd just explain a few fun facts as well as just the implications of all those different terms when it comes to the UK and the British Isles and stuff. So that's what I'm doing in today's video. Hopefully this helps you combat snarky British people on the internet, and hopefully learn a thing or two about geography. Let me know when you finished it in the comments down below what you think of it. But let's get straight into the video, shall we? So first of all, let's describe what we're talking about. So what we're talking about is called the British Isles, and it extends all the way from up here. So this is the tip of it up here, all the way to down here, basically to where France is. A lot of this belongs to us, not them, and this is the British Isles. So even though the British Isles aren't connected to the mainland of Europe, because this is what a lot of people know as Europe, this big thing here, we are still part of Europe, the continent. A continent has no specific, definition, and even though, Iceland's all the way up there, way separated from it, Iceland counts as part of Europe too, so do we. As a fun little thing, Iceland's, closer to Greenland than it is to the UK, but still, it comes with us, because, Europe's as well placed, so, yeah, we're part of Europe, even though we are part of Europe, though, there's only one connection between the UK, and the rest of Europe, which is a rail link between, it's called the Eurotunnel, between there and there. It's a pretty cool underground train tunnel. It's the only way to get from there to there without going by boat or by going by plane. Fun little fact like that. But yeah, we like to keep our distance. They're all glued to each other right there. We keep our distance. We're a free-floating country, set of countries, because the British Isles is made up of two, sort of more, but it's mostly made up of two countries. It's made up of two major countries, I should say. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and it's also made up of Ireland. So yeah, all of the British Isles belongs to one of these two countries, or crown dependencies, but yeah, they're mostly made up of either the United Kingdom, which has most of the landmass, and also Ireland. So I believe of all the British Isle, landmass, I think Ireland owns something like 1/6, 1/5, something like that. And basically, yeah, this is it over here. So Ireland is a very easy country to talk about, because this island over here is called the island of Ireland. And Ireland, the country, not the island, because they're both called the same thing, takes up 5/6 of the island of Ireland. However, there is a part of the island of Ireland that isn't called Ireland and is instead called Northern Ireland. So I don't know why this isn't called South Ireland or even the Republic of Ireland, which is what a lot of people think, but this place here is just called Ireland. And then up here, we have Northern Ireland. So the reason this thing happened, the reason we have a very confusing naming system, is because up until the First World War, so just over 100 years ago now, this entire thing right here, this whole little island, used to belong to the UK, because we had a massive empire, we had a lot of places. Of course we're going to conquer this island next to us. However, we never truly kind of took over culturally, and during the early 20th century, they decided they wanted to take their independence back, and because we were busy fighting a war, we're like, and that they decided to do that. However, the top half, or the top bit of, Ireland, Northern Ireland, is mostly made up of settlers and people who are sympathetic to the British, so they decide to vote to go back to the UK, even though the island's kind of separated. It's confusing how that works, but it means that now we have a country called Northern Ireland, and we also have the country called Ireland. However, the country Ireland is a full-on country, whereas Northern Ireland isn't really a country, because it's a country as part of a country of countries. So, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which is its full name, but you can just call it the UK or the United Kingdom, which is what we'll do for, simplicity's sake here, basically is a country of countries. It's the only one of these in the world that I'm familiar with, and it's a confusing concept, because even though Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, the four countries, are their own countries, they don't have a lot of the same, things that a country does, and in reality, they're a lot more like states, because they all share the same government, they all have the same currency, they all, are part of the same, they have the same, kind of diplomacy and stuff, and that's what you just need to bear in mind, So, yeah, this is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is a country of countries consisting of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. However, even though, we can't really call them states because it'd be kind of unfair, because England does make up something like 80% of the population of, these four things, and it makes up the biggest amount of land mass too. So, if they try to make it like a state thing, where they kind of had proportionally represented thing, it doesn't really work too well because of the fact that, England just kind of outweighs everything. So, when it comes to government, we do have one centered government that controls all four, but then each country has its own kind of local government, which kind of controls some of that stuff. And for some reason, I can't think of many countries in the world where this is true, because, the Scottish want a lot more powers. They basically have a parliament which has a lot more powers to change what, the whole UK government does, than, Wales does, and Northern Ireland has its whole own thing too. They have different amount of powers, and it's kind of weird to me, but that is what works here. All three other countries besides England have their own separate powers. However, England does not have its own parliament, because it is the biggest part of the UK parliament. That kind of sets the whole laws there, which is... It's weird and interesting, but that is what happens. So, yeah, also something of note is the fact that even though England is the biggest country of all of this, 15% of the population of the entire thing lives in London. So you can kind of consider London to be its own separate country. You can see it's got its own borders there, and that's its whole own story, because London... There's actually inside London there is a city of London, which is this place right here, which is the actual city, and then London is a greater area. So London is a city in a greater area, in a country in a country. It's confusing, but just just bear that in mind. It's very, very confusing as we're going on there. So yeah, the United Kingdom is made up of 4 countries, but what does Great Britain mean? Why is it the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland? Great Britain is this landmass right here, made up of England, Wales, and Scotland. So, yeah, that's that right there. However, all 3 of these countries do have their own islands, but it's mostly just called Great Britain. It's kind of a confusing name when you think about it, but that's what it's called. That's what it says on the passports. That's what we just go with. So, yeah, with that said and done, what's going on with all these other places? Because you might be like, what's the Isle of Man? Why are there islands up here that belong to Scotland? What is with all this stuff? So. We'll go through these one by one. So there's 3, part of the British Isles contains 3 countries that are almost independent, but they retain our currency, and they have a governor that, I think our Queen's the head, our Queen, which doesn't really have power, but still has power, controls them, and they also use our currency, and they also don't have full autonomy, but they kind of do, and that is the Isle of Man, which is the biggest one. It's this big island over here that people forget about, and they're like, oh yeah, that exists. So this is technically its own country, but it will say right here, actually, it's a self-governing British Crown dependency. So yeah, there's an island over here in between, the UK and Ireland, and there's also a couple of islands just over here. For some reason, they're right next to France, but they belong to us because we're good like that, called Guernsey and Jersey, and they're both their own countries too. But they're still technically part of us, and they have their own currency, but their currency is changeable with our currency at a 1-to-1 rate. So it's called the Jersey pound, but it's worth £1, and it looks like a pound. And I don't know why they need to be separate, because you can almost spend them in each country. Also, along the same note, Scottish people have their own money, and so do Northern Irish people, but their money is interchangeable with our money, but our money is interchangeable with theirs, and it's confusing. It's very confusing the whole system works, but just bear that in mind for now. So yeah, this is the British Isles right here. This is Great Britain. This is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. This is Ireland, and England is the biggest part of the United Kingdom and of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And then there's London here. So, just for a few more fun facts while we're here and getting this out of the way, is you might think, okay then, so, these 4 different countries are different culturally, and that is true, but a lot of people from the north of England are very different to people from the south of England, and are more like people from the south of Scotland, because the way I like to see it is, the top of Scotland is where they're most Scottish. They're Highlanders, they've got that, the really, really deep, thick Scottish accents you can't understand. As you go lower down in Scotland, you get kind of more Northern English, and as you go, the North of England is kind of Scottish, and then as you go south, you end up with super, super English stuff, and, like the farmers and all that stuff down here. So, yeah, it's confusing how that whole thing works. There's also a bunch of islands which belong to it, like there's Isle of Wight, which has its own whole thing. But the only important ones you want to know about, because they're the ones that are most separated, are, I think this is Orkney and Shetlands. I don't know which one's which, but this is Orkney, I believe. Is this Orkney? Yeah, this is Orkney here, and that's the Shetland Islands. I hope I got that one right. But basically, these are 2 groups of islands that are part of Scotland, but they're kind of not very populated themselves. It's a very, very interesting kind of story there, because if you look, I believe there's a part of the, Shetland Islands, which are actually closer to, they're closer to Oslo and to Denmark than they actually are to London, which is, it's weird the way that works, but it does. And yeah, these they have their own thing going on here, and it's pretty cool. So, one other interesting thing that confused me about this area is, even though we kind of own all the British Isles, for some reason, these islands over here do not count as the British Isles. And you might think, oh, they belong to Norway, or they belong to Iceland. But no, they belong to Denmark, so they have, their territory is here, and then it extends to there. And also, Denmark owns Greenland, which is something you might know about. But back to the British Isles. So, yeah, the British Isles is made up of 4 countries, which make a country, and 1 other country, and 3 other countries, which are technically their own countries, but technically part of the United Kingdom at the same time. And they're all part of Europe, all part of the European Union, except Ireland uses the euro, and the United Kingdom still has its own currency. And these other countries have their own currency, which is interchangeable at 1-to-1 with the British pound. Also, Scotland wants to go independent, or, they had a referendum, it's 45-55, so at some point in the future, public mood will probably change there. Also, Northern Ireland is in the balance of, going back to Ireland, or not. Like, it's literally, close to 50-50 a lot of the time. So, yeah, that's what's going on here. This will probably change at some point because, independence is fun and stuff. But yeah, this is what's going on here. We got England and Wales, who are bros. They want to stay together. We got Scotland, who kind of want to separate. We got Northern Ireland, who wanted to separate, and now they want to re-separate back to unseparating. And we got the British Isles, which is what you call this whole thing. But if most people want to be called by what they are. They want to be called an English, a Welsh, a Scottish, a Northern Irish. That's kind of confusing there. Don't call them Irish, by the way. Or a Londoner sometimes because they want to pretend their city's a country. So that is everything you probably need to know about this stuff here. There is so many different stories because every island has its own funny reason for it, and there are hundreds of different islands, all of their own stories. There are hundreds of different places. There's lots of different cities that hate each other. There's lots of different cities that like each other. There's lots of just places, but that was an overview, and hopefully you learned something. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of this video. Was it too long? Did I just ramble on about this place for too long? Because there's just so many, I missed out so much probably. But hopefully you did enjoy it. Thumbs it up. Comment down below. And goodbye. So, second channel, don't care.